just make the most out of the opportunities, because some of them they will lapse, and they, as time goes, and you won't be able to go back.
Yeah.
Uh, because as a Bulgarian living abroad,
Yeah.
uh, I like following inspirational stories. I'm building my life, and that's what I'm constructing at the moment. So
Yeah.
in 30, 40 years time, somebody may say, well, hey, there was a chap called Georgi Minchev, and you know what, I happen to like what he's done. So
Yeah. Question is, what struggles did you face in your first year, and like, was the university good to help you accommodate with those problems?
well, sort of. I think because I'd already been in the UK for a couple of years, I had
Hmm.
my struggles when I was in secondary education, because,
Yeah.
let's say, learning from my application mistakes, I did that when I was in year 13. A lot of people who, never applied to law firms or had never been to the UK before, especially international students, they
Hmm.
face these issues when they came. With me, I had the way I got over that was, first of all, back when I was in college. In college, I told you I worked
Hmm.
with a very
Yeah.
dedicated careers leader and my law teacher to overcome these barriers. And then when I came to the University of Leeds, I received further career support from
Yeah.
the Law Society itself, and the career service within the School of Law, and just the general career service of the
Yeah.
university. And a challenge, I think, we have to realize that the university community is a sizable one. Um, I think Leeds has 38, 39,000 students.
Yeah.
40,000 students.
Yeah.
Uh,
Right.
no, pardon
Yeah.
me. It has 33,000 students, and then about 7, 8,000 staff members. So 40,000 people in total. So that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
And you have to sort of get used to, making your way around,
Hmm.
because in, at the beginning, when you don't know, anybody, you don't know how things sort of work. I found it hard to get, because what happens is when you arrive, everybody will try and contact you. Societies, academic newsletters, that is
Yeah.
what you'll get, like society information, medical. You have to open a bank account, get
Hmm.
registered with GP. There's so much information; it's hard to make your way
Yeah.
around that. So my tip is, if you if you you know try and sort out the main things, like when you move into university accommodation or just your own accommodation, sort of orientate yourself around the neighborhood,
Hmm.
open yourself a bank account, open yourself, uh, register with the general practitioner. The way the university helps you with these is, if you're at university accommodation, you will get guidance by the wardens. You'll get an introduction to university life. Let's say they would issue you a bank statement, so sort of, but basically a bank
Okay.
account opening statement you can present to the bank, and
Hmm.
open yourself an account. Uh, for a general practitioner, the university has is sort of, I don't know if the Leeds student medical practice is solely for our university or not, but essentially that's where students are advised to sign up.
Hmm.
uh, and these were some of the challenges, and really the challenge is sort of just orientating yourself around for the first few
Yeah.
months. There's a lot of there are a lot of people. You won't know everybody, and a lot of the information is online. So what sometimes happens is, if you don't get if you can't find the information online, you go and speak to someone, and then they direct you to someone else, and then they in turn direct you to someone else. So it's just about seeing how things work, and then learning as to who to contact directly to avoid going through
Yeah.
so many people. But
Hmm.
and what I think, sort of, after the first 3, maybe 4 months, depending on how adaptable you are, and what you need. Because let's say, if you don't need to speak to somebody, and then you go through that process of being passed around between people, you have to go through it. But once you make your way around, you know who to contact and how things work.
Hmm.
So, because it's a different community, let's say back when I was in college, there were 1,400 students. The students here were 33,000, so it's a bit
Yeah.
different. But yeah, and I understand that. Let's say I've had the time to adapt when I was in college because of my 2 years spent there.
Hmm.
uh, it gets you get used to the culture, you get used to the education system. Let's say
Yeah.
uh, when let's say I would imagine international students, they may face problems with the learning styles because
Yeah.
when I moved from Bulgaria to England, the teaching was different.
Yeah.
The way, let's say, in England, it's really pretty much the focus is entirely on essays. When I did my A levels, we
Hmm.
were assessed on essays. We weren't assessed on tests or quizzes. So you can have all the
Hmm.
knowledge in the world, but if you cannot apply it, you're not going to go
Yeah.
far. To be frank with you, and and so essays, that means you have to learn how to structure an essay properly,
Yeah.
because there is a certain rigid structure. So it's about getting
Hmm.
around these things really, but once you sort of get the hang of them, like life certainly becomes easier.
Yeah. So, in terms of just the university, if you speak about like specifically about University of Leeds, is there anything that annoyed you, or like you wish that it improved or something like that, or like is it fully perfect for you?
So well, I'm able to satisfy all my needs, and I pretty much, if I know who to contact, or like if I know who to contact, I'll go and speak to them
Yeah.
if I've got a certain issue. Obviously, if there's something I've not experienced before,
Hmm.
uh, I'll probably have to go through the learning process again. But at the end of the day, that's just life.
Yeah.
University, as much as it's an academic experience aimed,
Hmm.
at giving you that future career push, it's life experience. Some of
Yeah.
the people that come here, they've never lived on their own. I
Mm.
When I moved to Wyndham College, I was in a boarding school as a scholar, right? So I was away from my family, but it was in a sort of in a semi-independent environment, because there was a lot of supervision and support and care, but you're still away from home. A lot of
Yeah.
people, and we're not talking just about international students, domestic and international students. They've never lived abroad. Some of
Hmm.
them, they come here and let's say they've never done washing before, they've never done cleaning before,
Yeah.
they've never they never pretty much they don't know how to share a flat with others. So it's just about it's not an easy job. A lot of and you, if you go to university, you have to be mindful of these things.
Yeah.
The, you know because
Day-to-day life activities and all of this stuff.
yeah, because some people they contemplate from dropping out if they think that's something
Hmm.
they cannot bear with.
Yeah.
And that's not only it's not a mass thing, I just want to emphasize, but
Hmm.
I think it happens across every university. I think with university experience, I think you pretty much dictate things, and you're in charge of your university experience, because one thing I found very different was the flexibility. When I was back in college, I had a full day timetable. It was all
Yeah.
structured. I knew when I would have to do my preparation for the next
Hmm.
day or the next week, or when we'd have assignments, and well, it was pretty much very structured, right?
Yeah.
Here, let's say my our timetables change every semester. So let's say
Sometimes
this
every day.
sometimes every day, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sometimes yes, so sometimes it can be tough.
Yeah.
I personally, this year and last year, I've had these periods of 2 3 weeks, maybe a month, where I'm really really busy, but then it sort of all fades out.
Yeah.
But let's say on Monday, I've got a lot of
Hmm.
back-to-back activities. I've got nothing on Tuesday, just
Yeah.
or maybe just a single seminar, and maybe a lecture on Friday, right? And
Yeah.
that's my academia for the
Yeah.
week. There's a lot of free time now. A lot of that will be occupied by your academic preparation, because there's a lot of reading to do.
Yeah.
Um, and however, you're still going to have a lot of time, so you choose what to do. My choice has been to apply for work placements, and
Hmm.
then complete them. And I think that because you have so much, I wouldn't say it's so much free time, but because you have more free time,
Hmm.
you're able to sort of plan and schedule your activities accordingly.
Yeah. Agree too. All right. Coming to my next question. What's one advice that you wish that like you had been given when you started the law school?
It's a very, very good question. So I actually I contacted somebody from my college who had graduated a few years before I did.
Hmm.
He's Bulgarian as well, and I asked him a few questions. And one of the advice he gave me was um, be mindful of your referencing. So in law, as in pretty much
Yeah.
the other subjects where we have to reference and produce bibliography, be very
Hmm.
careful there because if you don't get it right, there's first of all you're going to get a reduction of your mark. Uh,
Yeah.
and even if you don't do it at all, or there are many errors,
Yeah.
you're going to fall into the field of plagiarism. Now, plagiarism that pretty much means
Yeah.
curtains closed for you. Bye bye. Because with plagiarism, it's perceived as a very, very serious
Yeah.
academic integrity offense. So my advice is, if you've, let's say, when I was back in college and I did my extended project qualification, just to clarify, that's a
Hmm.
subject you can take additionally, and it's valued at half of the marks of a standard A level. So a
All right.
standard A level for UCAS equals 56 points. The
Hmm.
EPQ is 28. I got 28 points,
Hmm.
and I did a dissertation. So you can do an artifact, which would be a movie, a painting, or etc., or a dissertation. I did one of 5,000 words, and that's where I learned to reference.
Wow.
Now, there are different referencing systems.
Yeah.
Here in the University of Leeds, we use the OSCOLA system. So you
Yeah.
can have different, I think there are other systems such as the
Hmm.
APA or Harvard, etc.
Everything.
But we use OSCOLA. So go, for future students, go and see how OSCOLA
Yeah.
works, because you want to get it right. Even if you've got the perfect essay, if you've got errors within your bibliography or plagiarism, it's
Hmm.
going to get so much harder. And
Hmm.
another thing is just um, basically a lot of when we have assessments, because we've had open book assessments uh, this year and last year. I don't know how things will be for next year, but with open book assessments, uh, my advice to future students is they will give you a limit of up to 10% uh,
Hmm.
to of excess words. For example, if you have our standard essays are of 1,250 words, you can go by up to 10%. That doesn't mean 10%, and I want to
Hmm.
emphasize that a lot. It means
Yeah.
up to 10%. So up to 1,374 words would be acceptable, but 10% would be 1,375 words, which would means you get marks deducted.
Yeah.
I think that's another thing to bear in mind.
Yeah.
And probably the last thing is to just really sort of not really care about what others tell you. Let's say there's a common myth that mooting competitions are for barristers or aspiring barristers only. No, they're
Hmm.
not. If you want to enter, go and enter, and
Yeah.
just make the most out of the opportunities, because some of them they will lapse, and they as time goes, and you won't be able to go back. Uh,
Yeah.
and my tip is just know what you want to do, research in advance what you want to do, uh, go to events before the academic year starts, find the law firms you like, research them well, and apply as soon as possible, because some of them they recruit on a rolling basis, meaning
Hmm.
that applications are screened as they come, so places may be filled before the deadline.
Yeah. That's a really good advices to all the students, their prospective students or the current students. I hope they all get some points to take from this podcast. So this will be the last part where I'll be asking you like some of the questions. So it will be really rapid fire. So I'll be asking you like 5 questions, and you have to answer it just like yes or no, like one word answer, something like that. So
With
just to
how
make it a fun.
talkative, with how talkative I am, I think that I'll find it quite a challenge. But let's give it a go.
Yeah, we'll start with the first one. Uh, which one of your turn, like the campus ambassadors, like you mentioned, like the two ambassadors that you did. So out of those two, which one was the best for you?
So I've done campus ambassadorships. I've been a campus ambassador or a brand ambassador for Baker Mckenzie and Bird and Bird.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's a good one because they differed in what you had to do. So
Yeah.
with Baker McKenzie had more.
Yeah.
I was more engaged because simply I was required to do more things, uh,
Hmm.
and I guess because you're representing the top global law firm brand that's actually in the rankings, I think I'd probably have to go with this one because I was also able to engage with with the Law Society. We hosted a
Mm,
joint workshop.
yeah,
So not that the Bird and Bird was definitely a bad one. With the Bird and Bird one, it's
yeah,
different because you're representing two organizations at once. You're representing the Lawyer Portal, which is a major
yeah,
website for aspiring lawyers,
yeah,
and a law firm at the same time,
yeah,
and they'll have different requirements for what you have to do. Uh, Plus, let's say with the lawyer portal, you can publish articles there, paid articles, so they differ. But I think the with Baker Mckenzie, I was more engaged with, and I was able to form more partnerships. So
hmm.
I think I'll probably have to go with this one.
All right, that's a nice one. The second one will be like, what did you like the most? Like being in the LawSoc committee, the subcommittee, or being with Lawyers Without Borders?
Yes, so just to clarify, so we have a society called Lawyers Without Borders, which is works with the non-governmental organizations, Lawyers Without
Yeah,
Borders. Head of research in the student division of this organized non-governmental organization. Um, Again, they're different because with the subcommittee, I had to organize one event,
yeah,
and I really enjoyed that because that was about early careers, which I'm passionate about. With
yeah,
my Lords Without Borders role, I have a wider oversight because I manage research
yeah.
projects from start to finish, and I get to help other people. I think I'll probably go with this one for the reason that I actually work with an NGO,
Hmm.
and uh, there it's sort of longer. The length is bigger, and I think
Yeah.
probably because of that. Oh, you
All
asked me
right.
very tough questions. You are.
Yeah. So the third number is like slightly easy. So which firm will Georgie aim towards getting training contract? Like what are the like uh, firms that you are looking forward? Like give me two or three names.
I want to go into well, for me, I would like to go to an international, very large international law firm with a strong emphasis on innovation, legal tech, pro bono,
Yeah.
having a good client base and good reputation,
Hmm.
working in commercial law services. So, I mean, the law firms I've had an insight to Baker Mckenzie,
Yeah.
DLA Piper, White and Case, CMS,
Hmm.
Freshfields.
Yeah.
These are all firms that I've
That
experienced
matches.
them in
Yeah.
one way or another. They seemingly look very similar. I know what differs about each one of them, but it's sort of that type of caliber of firms. I think that
Hmm.
me having an international background would also probably make me fit a bit better
Yeah.
in them. Plus, we have to realize that the future of the world is pretty much cross-border
Yeah.
interactions, and I think you want to be part of those cross-border interactions. So
Mm.
you won't necessarily be able to achieve those in, let's say, smaller law firms. So you'd want to
Yeah.
go big. So
So is there any like anyone that you get inspired from in the it can be in your law school or someone outside apart from the law school, anyone that inspires you?
I'm very open-minded. I'm very open-minded to have to pretty much looking up to different people. I mean, I'll give you a few
Yeah.
examples. My mum is a very big inspiration to me. My mum and my grandmother. Well, why? Because they're they are the most hardworking, kind women in
Yeah.
my life there are, and they've always pushed me a lot. They've certainly been tough on me on occasions. They built a great discipline in me.
Mm-hmm.
They've always guided me correctly
Mm.
into they've guided me as to how to achieve my ambitions,
Yeah.
goals, and whenever I've been down, they've given me kick in the butt, and I've managed to lift myself back up. But let's say other examples would be, let's say, Baroness Brenda Hale of Richmond. She's one of the most
Yeah.
emblematic um, judges of modern Britain, and she
Yeah.
came to the University of Leeds to a talk, and I got to meet her after the event,
Yeah.
and she even signed my my copy of her book.
Yeah.
And if you read her biography, she's been a pioneer in so many things, and she's reached the heights of the judiciary by becoming president of the Supreme Court from
Yeah.
2017 to I think it's 2020. And she's worked on some of the most emblematic, and truly policy-defining cases of national significance and international significance, such as the
Hmm.
Miller 1 and 2 cases. But let's say if you move on to other spheres. I've told you about my family, just my family in general being you know my backbone really. But I've let's say I'm a very big darts fan. Don't know
Hmm.
if you're familiar with that, but
Yeah.
I've got people I admire there. My favorite player is a bit of an interesting character. He's called Peter Wright. He's a very, very colorful character as well. He
Mm.
does some dancing on stage. He's got a mohawk, a colorful mohawk. Changes his clothing, his attire every match. But
Mm.
if you look at his story, uh, he fled an abusive relationship, and now he's a two-time champion of the world, and
Mm.
he's won some of the other prestigious darts tournaments, ranked tournaments.
Yeah.
But before getting there, he lost 11 out of 12 televised major finals. So
Mm.
that takes some guts to do.
Yeah.
Another example, I think, is let's say uh, because as a Bulgarian living abroad,
Yeah.
uh, I like following inspirational stories. And let's say I've read about this gentleman. He sadly passed away a couple of years ago. It's called Ignat Kanev. Uh, he was born in Bulgaria in a very poor region. Went to work in Austria aged 13, 14. Didn't
Mm.
know any German. Then later on he moved to Canada without knowing a single word of English, and he
Hmm.
built a real estate and property empire. And he was a
Oh.
great entrepreneur, and
Mm.
he kept his ties with Bulgaria
Mm.
by engaging with the community in his
Yeah.
hometown, building schools, like, libraries, etc. So you know, like I said, I think a lot of, and that's why I think I'm so lucky because I've met great people. I've met Lady Hale. I've also met the Attorney General of England and
Hmm.
Wales, the Right Honourable Victoria Prentice, uh, and that I think everybody can shape your personality, and I don't think I personally wouldn't say that it's right to stick with only a single person as your
Yeah.
role model or ideal for behavior. Just look at what people can offer you, listen to
Yeah.
their stories, see how they've got there, uh,
Mm.
and and see if you can try and hopefully replicate them in
Yeah.
one way or another in the future. So I'm building my life, and that's what I'm constructing at the moment. So
Yeah.
in 30, 40 years time, somebody may say, well, hey, there was a chap called Georgi Minchev, and you know what, I happen to like what he's done. So
Yeah. Might be. And
yeah.
yeah, that was really inspiring, because I too believe in that, that when you are getting it at some success, there are people behind you, not just one person, but there are a lot of people. It's just not like your, like one person. It can be your friend, it can be your flatmate, right? It can be someone just walking down the street. So it can be anyone, and that really matches my mind too. Anyway, that's the end of today's podcast. I hope everyone had a time of gaining some knowledge from this podcast. And thank you, Georgie, for having like coming to this podcast and sharing so much knowledge of your experience.
No, Rishi, the pleasure was all mine, and I was very sort of intrigued by the invite, and I'm so glad I accepted. And thanks again for having me, and I hope our viewers have enjoyed listening to me. All right,
Yeah.
well,
I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for the next one.